Listen, life's all about leveling up. Whether you're handling business on the field or kicking it in your zone, you like to celebrate with cigars that match the moment. That's why you should link up with Famous Cigars to bring you a wild deal. Right now, you can grab 8 premium cigars for just $8. You heard that right. 8 top-rated cigars at $1 a stick. Top quality brands like Oliva, Romeo y Julieta, and Davidoff. Handpicked just for you and worth over $80. Hit up famouscigars.com/cam and lock in this exclusive deal. While you're there, check out their insane selection of premium cigars, all shipped fresh and fast from their massive 20,000 square foot humidor. That's half a football field. Famous Cigars has been in the game since 1939 and still family owned. So celebrate every win with the folks at Famous. 8 cigars for $8. famouscigars.com/cam.
The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast.
Chris Paul is on a roll right now. Got the screen, takes it through, chiseling his way free. Paul, 10 of 10. He cannot be stopped. What a performance by Chris Paul.
Welcome to the Timeline of Phoenix Suns podcast. Sam, the Phoenix Suns defeated the New Orleans Pelicans after a hard-fought 6-game series. Are now moving on to the second round. How you feeling?
Well, first of all, I feel fantastic. Thank you for asking. It wasn't easy. I think every Suns fan was sweating at a certain point in the series. We all felt it. We all felt the pressure. I felt better. We did a playback stream tonight, so we were talking about it throughout the game. I definitely felt better going into this game than I had maybe at any point in the series, with the exception of right after game 1, before the Booker injury. That being said, there was still that pressure. The Pelicans made runs in this game. The Suns were down for a significant portion of the game. They were down going into the fourth quarter, and you did not want to have to be forced into a Game 7 scenario where anything could happen. They pulled it out with a Chris Paul masterclass. And when I say masterclass, Mike, I mean masterclass. Like he pitched a perfect game. I know you hate baseball.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know you hate baseball, but he pitched a perfect game. This
How
is the
often
equivalent.
do perfect games come in baseball?
Like once every several seasons, something like that. Like rarely.
So yeah, it's a pretty good analogy then, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's
rare. Like pitching a perfect game in the playoffs in baseball. I don't know this analogy. That's not why people listen to us. Let me just get this out of the way real quick. 1, Willie Green is going to be one of the best head coaches in the NBA. I'm 100% confident saying that right now. 2, this Pelicans team, for as frustrating as the series is, and for as frustrating as it was for people to care more about the narratives than the basketball, the story is incredible. And they will be adding a 28 points per game scorer who scored 28 points on 60% shooting last year to this team if he comes back healthy. And they could be, I mean this with no hyperbole, one of the best teams in the NBA. It wouldn't surprise me if they had the best record in the NBA. Not only does he make them better as far as scoring, he also makes CJ at point guard make a lot more sense since CJ doesn't have to handle the ball as much as he is. And CJ becomes the third best player on the team instead of the second best player on the team, which he's been for years.
Sure.
And they played incredibly hard, incredibly tough, and they did it while playing 3 rookies. And you have to give them credit, and you have to give Willie Green credit. And look, if you had any questions about who Brandon Ingram was before this series, those questions are gone. He's clearly a superstar, and his game is tailor-made to succeed in the playoffs. So I just wanted to say that I didn't have a chance to do this throughout the series because I kind of hated them. Now that the Suns have won.
Well, now we can play the high road, but tensions rise throughout the series, and I was getting pissed off. You were getting pissed off too. Don't try to deny it.
Absolutely. We're fans.
I mean, think about it, Mike. Flagrant 2 on Jackson Hayes. Yeah. Flagrant 1 on Herb Jones pushing Chris Paul. Flagrant one tonight on CJ McCollum shoving
Uh-huh.
Cam Johnson.
Yeah.
No fights broke out, but I had also pointed out maybe in the last podcast, I can't remember because there are so many of them, but Pels fans have been talking this series. Like online, the discourse got nasty at certain points.
And it will every round of the playoffs. That's
I know,
just what
it
is
always
now.
does.
It's just what it is.
It always does.
Now,
but I'll say it got nasty from corners where I wasn't expecting it to get nasty, and it was
Fair.
It was good to put that to bed. It felt good.
Right. Well, they'll if it's anything like Nuggets fans, they'll be talking about it for a year. But now that we got that out of the way, credit to them. Chris Paul, Devin Booker came back in this game, right? The entirety of Suns fans probably expected the story to be about Devin Booker tonight. Chris Paul snatched that directly from him and had one of the best games of his career and set a record for the most field goal attempts without a miss in a playoff game in NBA history in his 16th season at 37 years old, 15th season, 37 years old. One of the best games I've ever watched beginning to end by any individual player, and almost none of the shots were at the rim. This is all jump shots. An incredible performance by Chris Paul.
The previous record holder there was Nene, who had gone 12 for 12 in a playoff game, and it's just exactly what you think of when you think about that type of stat. What you need to do in order to be perfect, you need to be a Nene, a Tyson Chandler, a DeAndre Jordan. You need to be getting layups and dunks. For Chris Paul to do it without getting layups and dunks is just phenomenal. And I just did some quick napkin math because, of course, the stat sheets have not updated, and they won't update until tomorrow to reflect his overall stats on the series. So I had to calculate it myself. Chris Paul finishing the series, averaging 22.3 points, 11.3 assists per game on 67% true shooting. Obviously, that was lifted quite a bit after tonight. Before, he was pretty good already. I think he was around 58, 59 if you don't include this game. He had one dud, of course, with the 4-point game that Pelicans fans remember fondly. But going perfect tonight lifted him up to 67% true shooting. That's as good as it gets. It's just superstar impact, no doubt about it, no other way to say it. And for him to be managing the game, dominating the game in this way, a week or I think 2 weeks away from turning 37 officially, it's fairly unprecedented. And he's had a hell of a series, man. Compared to the first round series we had with him last year against the Lakers, where obviously he got hurt, so I don't hold that against him. But at the time he was struggling, and the team kind of had to persevere in spite of his limitations, literally being unable to dribble with his offhand, literally being unable to shoot the ball. And then to fast forward a year later, and this time it's Devin Booker who goes down, and Chris Paul is still perfectly capable of taking the reins and just not coasting, but leading your team throughout a series. So fun to watch.
Yep. I mean, this is what he's here for. This is why you trade for Chris Paul.
the 3-year-old, 2-year-old gag at this point.
To bring back, last year's meme. But it's true. I mean, ultimately, when you have one superstar out, it's the 8 versus the 1 seed. Then the ideal scenario is that superstar carries you through the end of that series, and you're able to win because it's the 8 versus the 1 seed. And I truly believe this is not a normal 8 seed. They were playing when Ingram and CJ McCollum played. They were playing at a 52 win pace this year. They're going to be good next year, and that means that it was even bigger of a hurdle than you expected to have in this first round. And people might not realize that now, but I think we're going to see the Suns against a team in the next round, if they're assuming they could be fully healthy and have a chance to look more like the Suns that we saw before, being that their health is there and they're against a team that is more likely meant to be a second round opponent, unless it's the Jazz.
you had to fling it in there. Just a reminder to everyone, the vast majority of you, by the time you listen to this, may actually know who we're playing, or at least you'll know the result of tonight's Game 6 between Dallas and Utah. And if Dallas wins, then that means you'll know officially who we're playing in the second round. Right now, we don't know. That game is going on right now. If Dallas wins tonight, I'm going to get all this out of the way so that people aren't confused about it, and maybe we don't have to explain at the end. If Dallas wins tonight, don't worry. We'll definitely record a preview of that series within the next 48 hours or so, because that series could start as soon as Monday. Now, if Utah wins tonight, things get iffy. obviously. And I think it's fair to say that's the ideal scenario for Phoenix fans because Devin Booker could use the extra rest. With Chris Paul, man, just stepping away from this particular series for a second, but you watch the way he's played. It's a question we've brought up before or has been brought up by listeners to us before. To see him dominate a series like this, I know he doesn't have the tenure. It's only his second season with Phoenix, but if the Suns could get all the way he's clearly establishing himself in the pantheon of Suns greats, right? I think all he needs is the ring at this point. If the Suns could get the ring, he's in the Mount Rushmore. Is he not? He's one of the top 4 greatest Suns of all time. I think, jumping ahead here, obviously, because there's a lot of work to be done before the Suns could win, but just theoretically, if they could do it this year, is it not Charles Barkley, Steve Nash, and then Devin Booker and Chris Paul?
Yeah. I'll say this to add to that. I've never seen a point guard have that good of a game for the Phoenix Suns. And they have a history of great point guards.
Not even like Nash, the 06 run without Amari was insane.
The 48-point game.
The 06 run was
against
nuts.
the Mavericks. That's probably the closest to it. But I don't think that it's fully sunk in. And for those who are probably going crazy at what I just said, I don't think it's fully sunk in to go 14 for 14 on jump shots. That's absurd. I can't even. How do you even do that? Not only that, every single one of them was contested. He doesn't take catch and shoot shots. They're all off the dribble. They're all fadeaways. They're all with guys in his face. None of them were easy. Not a single one. And he made every single one. And the bounces that he got was like the basketball gods were just tipping him in once they were bouncing off of the rim. I don't think that it's not easy to contextualize just how amazing that was immediately afterwards. So maybe I am being hyperbolic, but I'll be honest. I don't think I am. I don't think I am. It's not an everyday thing to see a guy have a perfect game. It just never happens. The only other perfect game I remember in Suns history is I think one time Grant Hill went 9 for 9, and that's all catch and shoots from Steve Nash passes. That's not. Those are a lot easier shots, and that's the only other one I remember.
Yeah. Look, I think Nash probably had a couple of better games. I'm just remembering back to his true MVP seasons where, especially that year without Amari, he was sensational. But that being said, we're splitting hairs at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of another example other than Nash, though. I mean, Kevin Johnson had some gems, but nothing like this. You look back further into the team's history, Westfall, Walter Davis, other like great guards who played for the Suns, Van Arsdale. Obviously, I'm too young to like officially speak on kind of the tenure of all of those guys with the Suns, but my impression is to say that none of them had a game like this, not in the playoffs. So
yeah,
this is insane.
What about Bob Cousy? Do you think he has?
I already made that joke. I made that joke on Twitter. Bob Cousy could not have done this. No.
Mikal Bridges was first of all, this was the best playoff series he's ever had. And I think that, and this is no disrespect to DeAndre Ayton, who was incredible this whole series. I think that Mikal Bridges was clearly the second best player on the Suns for this entire series. And the performance that he had defensively throughout this series is the best I've seen from a Suns player as well. And this is no disrespect to any other Suns player. But
we're just going to debate
Sean Marion.
We're just going to debate Suns history for this entire episode, your legacies.
But to have Devin Booker out in the scenario that they were now in, where there were now two incredible shot makers on the other team, and the best defender on both of them throughout the series was Mikal Bridges, and the extent to which he had to be played in order for the Suns to finish it out.
That's a big thing.
Is insane. And I think that I kept thinking throughout the series about the Suns securing him to a 4-year, $90 million deal that doesn't even kick in until next year. And just how amazing of a deal that is for the Suns, because he just finished second in Defensive Player of the Year voting and then had one of the more remarkable defensive performances that I've seen And on the other end of that has been one of the most dependable scorers for the Suns in a series where nobody was dependable except for DeAndre Ayton and Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm. Those were the only three. Yeah.
And to do that for the stretch that he did over 6 games, I think maybe he had one game where he struggled offensively, but outside of that, he was consistent.
Yeah.
Was incredible. And I just think that when I think back on this series, I'm going to think about Chris Paul, of course, and I'm going to think about Mikal Bridges second, I think, because I think what DeAndre Ayton is doing, he's just going to continue doing. So I think we're going to have a conversation about Ayton next, I think. But I just wanted to say that what Mikal Bridges did was incredible for this series.
I mean, I know we've talked about the whole Iron Man thing to death, but it deserves to be brought up once again just because here's the game-by-game minutes for Mikal Bridges in this series. 38, 40, 40, 41, 47, closes out tonight with 44. They don't make them like that often these days. They just don't. And, obviously he had the last game, which we talked about, that was like the main theme of the last podcast because that was the Mikal Bridges game. But then to take some of that momentum and to bring it into this game as well. And he finished with 18 points on 12 shots again. But specifically, you had Devin Booker back.
Yeah.
It does so much for your offense when Devin Booker can almost be used as a decoy. And there's Mikal Bridges, who's supposed to be your fourth scorer. But there was one play where it was just a high pick and roll with DeAndre Ayton, and he took the defense with him. Both defenders converged on him, and he sort of leaned to his left and just finished, hit the shot over 2 outstretched arms. I don't remember exactly who it was. One defender was definitely Brandon Ingram, but he brought another defender with him, making Kevin Durant shots, Jason Tatum shots. Like, it's not his bread and butter, but he can do it. He's shown over the past 2 games that Mikal Bridges can do that. And if that's your third or fourth scorer in a playoff series, you start to see where the offensive ceiling for this team is and exactly the level of production that they're going to need if they want to go all the way. He's been remarkable. That's not even to speak about. Obviously, the defense is the overall thing. That's the main thing with Mikal Bridges, but he's bringing so much more to the table. You're right. He did have that one dud in game 4,
I think.
Yeah, game 4 where they tied it up. That was the one game this series where Mikal Bridges was not in double figures. But other than that, he's been you know what? I will say they did a really good job in games 1 through 4 also of keeping him off the 3-point line to begin with. We talked about how Devin Booker's injury changed up the Suns' rotations, changed Mikal Bridges' kind of role in the offense where he wasn't able to get to his spots. But now, all of a sudden, games 5 and 6, he's a perfect 6 for 6 from deep. So when he's been getting those opportunities, he's actually been one of the few Suns in the series who can convert from distance, but he's also hitting the mid-range shots, continues to be a phenomenal cutter, amazing transition finisher. He's got the complete package. The one thing that Mikal Bridges could maybe work on, and it's always been this way, is
ball handling.
Well, okay, yeah, for sure. Ball handling. If he ever wanted to be like a true number 2 option, no, you're right. But also, rebounding was an issue for this team this series. And
you're right.
One of the main lessons that we learn as we move forward, I don't think this is going to, luckily, I don't think this would be a huge issue against either Utah or Dallas. We can say that at this point. But because neither of those teams are especially physical. But the truly physical teams that play multiple bigs, and New Orleans are one of the only ones left, but there is potential for the Suns to see other ones if they played Memphis, for instance, if they played a Milwaukee, obviously in the finals. Physical teams wear them out, and teams that punish them on the boards consistently can even out the math by getting relentless second and third chance opportunities. And definitely when you look at the certain problems, I don't want to say failures exactly, but the problems with the Suns right now that persist, you look at Jay Crowder and you look at Mikal Bridges and you look at Cam Johnson when it comes to the rebounding issues. So, but that's not to take away from what was a fantastic series overall for Mikal. He's not the MVP of the series. Chris Paul is the MVP of the series. But if you wanted to do the hipster vote, the Andre Iguodala Finals MVP vote, if you will, if you wanted to overthink it and give it to anyone else, Mikal Bridges is there in that role. And technically you could do that.
There was one shot by Mikal where he went right to left. I know you know the one in Game 6. Right to left, full speed down the court. 3 defenders chase him. And shoots a fadeaway, fading out of bounds. Nothing but net. 2 guys closing out on the contest.
Do you remember who the second
And
one
he
was?
hits it.
One was definitely Ingram. Was it also
I think
CJ?
it was Valanciunas.
Really? Okay. I'll have to
Yeah.
go back and look.
Yeah, an amazing shot by Mikal that really kind of showed all of his development offensively this season in a single shot, because it's that right to left going from the right side of the wing to the left side of the paint is his shot. That's like his signature shot when he's shooting off the dribble. But to be able to make it under that level of duress was amazing. DeAndre Ayton was amazing in this series as well, I think. Really, when you talk about Devin Booker being out, I think that those three guys were the only guys that did something great in every game, basically. Everyone else could not be counted on. Jay Crowder had multiple stinkers. Cameron Payne was not great to start this series. Cameron Johnson did not find his groove until recently, and still, I'm a little concerned. I'll be 100% honest. Torrey Craig played himself out of the rotation. JaVale McGee struggled on defense against Valanciunas. But DeAndre Ayton consistently scored time and time again in this series. And in particular, I think his first quarters, to be able to get him going the way they have in this series, have been huge for this team. And I think I talked about it before the postseason began, but I said that I think a lot of people are going to see something out of DeAndre Ayton that they didn't know existed, because his overall box score numbers did not reflect his growth offensively in this season. But I think just to see what he's done in this game in particular, the jump shots were wild. He was shooting some really far out jump shots with no hesitation and hitting nothing but the back of the rim and the net.
Not to mention coming off the dribble sometimes. That
That
was a big thing this series, where he would fake, the typical face up, or sometimes he would catch it in the post and he would go towards the turnaround shot that we're used to seeing from him. But it's a shot fake, and then he goes into his next move. And the packages, the combos that he's putting together this series, we haven't seen that consistently from DeAndre Ayton up until this point. It felt like a culmination of sorts.
Yeah. Absolutely. His engagement waned a little in Game 6, specifically in the second half, I think defensively. But previous to that, he contested the most shots by any player in the playoffs and held the people he was contesting to a lower percentage than anyone else in the top 5. So I know I gave a lot of credit to Mikal Bridges on defense, and I think that it's deserved credit, because a lot of times the shots that Mikal was contesting, Ayton wasn't near them because of the way that CJ and Ingram play. But on the other side of that, to have a consistent anchor in the defense, just being able to contest without fouling or getting himself in foul trouble over and over and over again for DeAndre Ayton, who was also basically the second most effective offensive player throughout the series, just was amazing. And just to think about his growth from where he was, number 1 overall pick, came into the league, kind of was allowed to do a lot in his first year, and then Monty gets here. Monty turns him into a paint beast, forces him to take shots at the rim over and over and over again, and then over time, his game now expanding back to what he thought he was going to be when he came into the NBA, and now the level of confidence I have in his jump shot, there was a period of time where I wasn't sure I would ever get there. And I'm there. And part of that is because he's not just taking it every single time they leave him open. Mm-hmm. He's taking it when he feels it. If he doesn't feel it, he'll put it on the floor. He'll turn his back to him. He'll get a hook shot out of it. He'll try and get past him. He'll try and drive to the rim, maybe get fouled. To be able to have more than one option when he's turning around and he's open from that mid-range, I think is what has made him the versatile offensive player that he is. And I think it's nice that people are finally getting to see the growth that he's had on offense.
His offensive judgment, his shot selection is so much better now. Oh, I say that, it's kind of ironic actually that I say that, because if you look at the actual shot chart, Ayton did what 98% of people would say is the absolute wrong thing for a modern center to do this season, where he took a lot of the shots that he was taking at the rim and he turned in a season campaign this year where he has the same true shooting percentage, the same overall efficiency, but substituting so many of those shots right at the rim for shots from 5 to 9 feet, from 10 to 14 feet, shots that you're technically not supposed to take as a big man. But his judgment at finding the right matchups to abuse and the right ways to exploit those certain spots on the floor really makes the entire Suns offense so much more versatile. And you see the way that it hums when DeAndre is able to display that judgment. And really what it does, it makes Monty Williams' job so much easier, that we've gotten to a point with DeAndre Ayton in year 4 where he can trust him to make those decisions, and he doesn't have to pull him for stupid shots. Igor feels like a long ass time since we've mentioned his name, but all the way back in year 1 for DeAndre, when arguably you could say he had the biggest green light of his career, actually, because the Suns were going nowhere as a team. But even then, with some of the judgment, with some of the shot selection, at the time, you could tell Igor, being the coach, wanted to bash his head into a wall. You could tell that Suns fans were frustrated. His teammates at times were frustrated. Not to say that he had an entirely bad offensive campaign, but we just remember that that's what it was like. The amount of growth we've seen from year 1 to year 4 now, to get to a point where Monty trusts him, Chris Paul trusts him, and you know that Chris Paul did not always trust DeAndre Ayton offensively, Mike, especially not when he first came to Phoenix. It was a struggle to build that chemistry for a while. And then obviously Suns fans trust him as well too now. It's just been a remarkable amount of growth to see the shot versatility expand as much as it has. I'm actually really excited. I'm definitely going to pull up his shot chart as soon as we get done recording this, and I'll probably post that to Twitter. It's green everywhere. I can tell you that without even looking it up to verify.
Yeah. And in this game, Devin Booker was essentially a role player, right? We didn't really see the Devin Booker that we were used to seeing. He played a lot off the ball. He was sort of a decoy, didn't shoot a ton of shots, tried some in isolation, but not a ton in isolation. Ended the game with 13, 5 and 3, 5 for 12 shooting overall. Not a typical Devin Booker game, obviously, especially as good as he's been against the Pelicans this year. And, hopefully, right now, the Jazz and the Mavericks, it's 5 minutes left in the second quarter, 35-34 Jazz. By the way, that's a hilarious score.
We've had games. Hey. We've had some games like that too. So
it's the playoffs. Stuff like this happens in the playoffs. But, the ideal scenario for the Suns would be the Jazz win this one. They go to game 7. Whoever wins out of that one plays the Suns in the next round. Devin Booker has a little more time to heal up, rest up, and be better by the time the second round starts. So ultimately, we're cheering for the Jazz. People listening to this, most of you will know the end of that series by now. But that will be a very interesting test case, because the Suns can get away with winning in the first round without a fully healthy Devin Booker. Round 2, that's where it starts getting incredibly tough. They all need to be on their game to beat the Mavericks or the Jazz, whoever ends up winning that series. I think the Jazz is a little bit of a different story, but you never know with that team.
It's your second shot at the Jazz already in this 25-minute podcast or whatever.
I mean, the Mavericks are better, right? You'd rather play the Jazz, right?
1,000,000%. I'd rather play the Jazz. Yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah,
but that's not to say I think it would be a cakewalk. But yeah, you're right.
It's just funny that you'd rather play the Jazz than a team the Suns have beaten 9 times in a row.
That's fair. That's fair, because one team has. I actually come to think of it, this shows you that in the next day, I'm going to start doing a lot of research. I don't know offhand what the Mavericks clutch record is this season, but with Utah, that is a team that just has not been refined in the fourth quarter when it matters most. They have built, unfortunately for them, a reputation of lack of composure and blowing leads. And against the best clutch team in the NBA, not going to place too many bets on that. So we'll see. We have plenty of time to research that and see what the deal is, though.
Well, I'll tell you this. At a certain point of the season, in the top 5 of clutch players in the NBA, plus minus, there were 4 Suns players and Spencer Dinwiddie.
That's a good point.
So that's a good point. That factors in, and they've been a lot better since they removed the weight that was Kristaps Porzingis on that franchise. So as much as the Suns have beat them 9 times in a row, if the Mavericks end up winning, we're definitely going to have a Mavs expert, you guys know who, on this podcast to talk to us about that team and the changes that have come, because I haven't watched them enough to feel fully confident about my analysis without bringing on someone who knows more.
Perhaps someone with at least partially the word Mavs in their Twitter handle so that to demonstrate their expertise over the subject. So we'll see.
Yeah, we
We'll
will
see.
definitely see. I think that as stressful as this first round was, I think we'll look back fondly on it being fun. You know, just being the fact that Devin Booker is now back and could potentially be healthy going forward. Obviously, we're going to remember Chris Paul. Obviously, we're going to remember Mikal Bridges. Obviously, we're going to remember DeAndre Ayton. It's important, incredibly important for the Suns, which we will get to in a playoff preview. But it's incredibly important for the Suns, for the rest of the players, to play better as the playoffs roll in order for them
Jay
to
Crowder.
make waves.
I'm talking to you. By the way, I just saw the picture that Jay Crowder officially is wearing the shirt, the fuck Jay Crowder shirt.
Which
we
of
can
course
say it on this pod. This is
Of course he
an
is.
explicit pod. Parental warnings always. But yes, I thought maybe he wasn't going to do it, but he did do it, and I like the fact that he did it, especially coming off what is objectively, I think, Jay Crowder's worst playoff series of his career. And he's been, but it is. And he's been in a lot of playoff series, but he still has the audacity to talk shit. I respect it, but Jay, we need you to hit shots next round. We need it. The defense was fine for the most
It was
part.
good.
Most
I
games,
mean,
it was
most
good.
of the time. You know, there's certain guys where even good defense, they score.
We
And I
need
think
shots
we
to
learned
fall.
Brandon Ingram was one of those.
Yep.
Jay Crowder,
Campaign.
Cameron Johnson. Those three guys in particular need to play better.
Campaign. You know, like here's the scary part about what the Suns are doing right now. It's great to have Devin Booker back. The Suns can't survive forever if Campaign continues to do this little with his minutes. You know, there's going to be a certain point where they need some production out of a third guard. Maybe it doesn't even necessarily have to be Campaign, but they need a third guard to step up consistently, whether that's Campaign or Landry Shamet or even some of y'all's favorite player, Aaron Holiday, who I don't think is going to play much in the playoffs, but some people keep yelling at us, play more Aaron Holiday minutes. I don't think there's anyone out there yelling to play more Elfrid Payton. The point is there needs to be a third guy. If that's Campaign, great. If it's Shamet, great. If it's Aaron Holiday, great. But someone needs to step up. We need a little bit more bench production. Just getting spot up opportunities to fall is the first step, but it's more than that. Campaign at his best, the way that he penetrates, the way that he sucks in the defense and has his own sort of gravity and how that opens up shooters. Campaign is so fun to watch at his best. And I have just some very, very fond memories of watching him in the playoffs last year, not to mention watching him throughout even this season, which I think everyone agrees has been a down season for him. He needs to find that spark because they're going to need it eventually.
Yep. I agree. So now we'll wait. I mean, you guys will be a lot closer to knowing who the Suns are playing than Sam and I are as we record this. But now we wait. Once we know, we'll get a playoff preview, second round preview to you as soon as we know who the opponent is. And another podcast after every game. I had a blast on Playback today. I'm very happy they won. Undefeated on Playback so far in the playoffs.
We're going to keep them coming.
Yeah,
We'll keep them coming.
Round 2, we'll let you guys know.
Probably game 3 again, I would say. You know, next road game we'll do
Next road game.
on Playback. Just makes sense. Yeah.
Trying to do the road games so that guys who go to the games can still join us for the Playback ones. So yeah, we'll be back with another Playback stream. Join our Patreon, patreon.com/thetimeline. If you'd like to join us for those, we're having a good time with those so far. Some good luck even in road games. We appreciate you guys for listening. We appreciate you guys for sticking around for the entirety of the first round of the playoffs, and we will be back very soon.
For over a century, Johnny Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereaux Golf, Johnny Walker introduces the Johnny Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, Blue Label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereaux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnnywalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly.